I'm Jared Craig with Event Voice. On behalf of Legacy PAC and Veterans for Trump, I have the pleasure of speaking with Jim Marter, who is the current Kendall County Republican chair, and he's running for US Congress in Illinois' 14th Congressional District. So first, Jim, I want to thank you for coming on the show and welcome you to share a little bit of your background, what motivated you to run for office, and what you're going to do, what's your platform. So please share with our audience. Thanks, Jim.
Well, yeah, thank you. Good morning, Jared, and thank you for Veterans for America's freedom and voice, and love what you're doing there. So what my background is, I'll give you a little bit of personal perspective first. So I'm a software consultant. I've been doing that for 35 years. Work around the world. Work with heavy manufacturing, industrial clients. I've been doing that for quite a long time. I got involved in politics about 8 years ago. While I was doing my day job, I traveled a lot, listened to a lot of conservative talk radio show, Rush Limbaugh in the day, Mark Levin, all the rest of them. And always was an active voter, right? Wanted to know who were the best candidates, as best as I myself could figure it out. A lot of people are like that, right? And you listen to some of our conservative talk show hosts and leaders, and they tell you, you got to get involved. So when my kids grew up, they were out of high school, mostly out of college. I got involved in a local race, and that was 8 years ago. And here I am, and still fighting the fight. Got into some big races, and this is it. Running for Congress, Illinois 14th district. Lauren Underwood's the problem. She votes with Biden 100% of the time, as far left as you can kind of get in Congress. Even a few percent to the left of AOC, if you can imagine that. So
I can't imagine them.
And this is right, and exactly. And this is a conservative district. It was conservative for 50 years. I mean, we do have a trend of the outward migration, people trying to escape the insanity going on in Chicago. So they're coming out and they're bringing their votes with them. But it's a district we can take back here in 2024. As you mentioned, I'm the Republican Party chairman, actually my third term. So that's 2-year terms. I'm on my third term as the Republican Party chairman here. I'm also part of the Illinois Republican Chairman's Association. I'm one of the regional vice presidents for that, and a local Oswego Library Board member. So I've been on the ground here, leading the conservative charge for my county and the 14th district. And we have battles. We had battles with school board races this last spring. Kind of mixed results. One school board we swept, and the other one we lost all of our challenges. So. But we're down here on the ground working hard for conservative values and bringing back conservative, America First candidates back in the 14th district.
Well, for the people who are not from Illinois, the audience, we've got a nationwide audience. Explain where in Illinois that the 14th district covers. Where is that?
So we are not in the Chicago area, but we're just outside of it. A lot of Chicago suburbs, and then we have a lot of rural farming counties and communities. So, I'll give you the real quick rundown for anyone who's familiar with Northern Illinois. So we've got Kendall County, that's where I live entirely in. Parts of Will County, LaSalle County, DeKalb County, Kane County, Bureau County, and Putnam County. So we're parts of 7 counties. And a mixture of suburban. Some of we have Joliet in it, so that's one of the second or third largest cities in the state of Illinois after Chicago. So, but for the most part, we're Northern Illinois, Chicagoland area, and a lot of stuff going on here. Illinois is a disaster at the state level. We have the craziest Democrat run legislator and governor. They have a super majority. They're passing crazy, illegal, unconstitutional laws all the time, and it's just a big fight. Lauren Underwood, my opponent in the 14th, by the way, Democrat, supports everything the crazy Illinois Republicans are doing. So we're fighting that as well here. So
yeah, it's a wild world that we're living in, and we're seeing as a change. It's no longer a Democratic Party that we're seeing. I see it as a novelty grab bag of Marxist ideas and unconnected principles. I mean, I don't even see how different segments of what they claim to be the Democratic Party work together or align, because it just seems to be a fruit basket turnover, if you want to look at it.
Amen. Amen to that. I completely concur and agree. It's crazy, but they managed to keep them together with their hatred for us and the conservative cause. They're always trying to paint us as something we're not, right? And
Right, right.
we have to get better at this. We have to put our message out there, positive, conservative, freedom, capitalism. We need to explain these things, and we need to do a better job of it.
Individual freedoms, yes.
Individual freedom, responsibility, and the blessings and benefits that come from it, because we're the only country, greatest country in the world. It's our Constitution, it's our founding, it's our principles: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It doesn't get much more basic than that, and that's what we need to bring forward as candidates and as a party. And we have to start communicating this, especially in blue states like Illinois. I'm in a let's say more a bluish purple district that was always a red district, and we're going to have to bring that message back to bring it back, and that's the plan here. So,
Well, you're not new to the area, right? You've been there for decades, and you have
yes.
families, grandkids. You are a man of that area. You know the people.
Absolutely. So my wife and I moved here about 26 years ago. We all both grew up in Illinois, downstate near Peoria, in East Peoria, and came back here and been here. We raised our kids here. We have grandkids here, and we're fighting for Illinois. We're fighting for freedom and fighting for our country. We want to bring it all back, and my dad was an Army veteran, so the Army just had its 248th birthday, I believe, this week. So and he's 88 years old, still here and doing good. So want to give a shout out to all the Army veterans, but also all the veterans out there who've served and put their life on the line for us.
Now, when you get into office, what are the three main things, if you can winnow it down to just three, that you're going to focus on your policy or concerns or your associations? What's your game plan when you get into office?
So I think number one is a top issue for just controlling the craziness that's going on in our country, and that's that we got to secure our border. Okay, we have to solve the immigration process, and not with new. I mean, we have plenty of good immigration laws. We're just not enforcing them. So we need to do that. This should be simple. It should be quick. With President Trump back in office, with a Republican Congress, we can get this done. We need to get it done, and we need to put us back on a path where we don't have this insanity going on the border. It's bad not only for America, but it's bad for the countries where these people are leaving from. It's bad for the conditions they're it's a humanitarian crisis of these people are being sucked into this with these cartels, and it's awful. It's a humanitarian crisis, and it needs to be solved. That needs to be fixed. That thing, it's more immediate than other things, and we can do impactful things quickly, right?
Yeah,
so
and don't forget the fentanyl and the importation of the poison on our children and our people.
That's a whole part of the whole immigration. It's all intertwined, right? It's I've traveled to on work to Mexico, to Sao Paulo, to Costa Rica, and some other countries, and look, it's like, what's hurting in those countries is they don't have the freedom we have, right? It's really apparent when you go to other countries and you work with the people and get to meet them and work with them and live with them for a little bit, and we need to solve our problem by enforcing our laws here, and then let's start working with those countries on opening up the freedom within their own country, and then we won't have this immigration crisis problem, right? Because it's being caused by what's going on there, not here.
Right. And you're right. You're right to say that this is a simple solution. And once we have funding, we've got laws already on the books. We don't have to go through that process. Just enforce the laws, which also illustrates a breach of oath for those who are currently holding those positions of power.
Number two would be the budget, right? So we have to stop passing bills with spending money we don't have and things we don't need and aren't part of the enumerated powers in the Constitution, period, right? So
Right.
so I will be laser focused on, cutting things that the federal government doesn't belong and fixing problems that have been created by both Republicans and Democrats in Congress for the last many, many decades in my entire adult life, right? So we had a couple moments, when Ronald Reagan was president, when Newt Gingrich and the Contract with America were working, but all those things have been reversed by
Right.
both Republicans and Democrats over the last 20, 30 years. And we need to fix that. We need to get back to a limited government in Washington. And that's another just laser focus of mine, is stop voting for spending that we don't need and make sure the government's only doing those functions that the federal government's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I agree completely. That was a good transition to what was coming up, and I was thinking about the 10th Amendment, that everything is reserved, or sorry, that those things not specifically stated in the Constitution are reserved to the states. The other
Correct.
thing that was coming to mind is that all the waste, the amendments that come into some of these omnibus bills, or strange amendments that are including strange research and funding. And I'm hearing a lot of people getting behind single issue bills, and as a means of cutting out some of that waste or is that frivolous spending. So I think you remind the people that budgets should be balanced. You shouldn't have to say balanced in front of the budget, because
Right.
houses operate that way, our businesses operate that way. So why should the federal government operate on an unbalanced budget? So
Right. Every one of us are expected to balance our budgets. If we don't, we go into bankruptcy. And the federal, this should be really simple. We don't have a revenue problem in Washington. We have plenty of revenues. We have a spending problem, and we need to focus on the spending first. And then I would argue that when we get that in order, then we focus on the revenue problem, right? Because they are taking way too much of our hard-earned, dollars that each of us are out there working hard to earn. Working Americans are paying the bill. It's, I love the left, how they frame this. It's like, oh, it's, we need to tax the rich. Well, guess what? The rich are you. If you're working, you are the rich. That's who they're talking about taxing, because everything they do involves a tax on the working people. One of the largest tax increases in American history, that was part of Obamacare back in 2010. And I can tell you, as an independent software consultant who buys my own health insurance like a small business, like all small businesses do, we got whacked in that. And a lot of people got whacked in it too, even if they're employees and the company's taking care of it. What they don't understand, maybe some of them are starting to, is that they get whacked by less services, higher deductibles. You can't really afford to get sick, even though you have your healthcare coverage, because when you get sick, you're going to get whacked and you're going to have financial problems. So this is what Obamacare did to us. 20,000 new federal employees that have been in place now for over a dozen years. I mean, people we didn't need doing jobs we don't need. This is what Washington does. We need to stop it.
yeah, I think you're right. The spending, we go through the way we would go through most corporations with the efficiency experts, we would probably find that we have a lot of redundancy and waste of positions that are either antiquated for processes that we don't use anymore. And going through the colleges, the federally funded colleges, how many registrar offices are still funded the same way they were back in the 80s? And now the students register for their own classes. And that's just a drop in the bucket. But think about how many students there are, how many colleges there are, and how many people are just sitting there being funded by federal dollars, and they don't even realize that they're leeches on our economy.
Right.
So,
There's a whole nother problem there. It's like the more the government got involved, the more expensive college got, and the more student debt we had. So, kind of to paraphrase Ronald Reagan, it's like, it's it's the government, stupid, right? It's like we've got a problem here, and the government created the problem in financing of colleges, because what was their end goal? Their end goal was really to provide enough funding to the institutions and the professors so that they could continue on a gravy train, right? It should be a free market thing. Most Americans do not go to college, right? So why should they be footing the bill for those who do choose or do want to go to college?
Well, it sounds like that your third point might be on reforming the federal funding for colleges, and you're kind of bringing up the loan forgiveness program or
Right, right,
the violation of the Fifth Amendment takings clause
right,
issue, and the concept that the gravy train starts with the incentives from the Department of Education. And
right,
I'm hearing a lot of calls for either a reformation or a complete removal of the Department of Education, because a lot of people don't realize they are not in the education business. That's a banking entity.
right,
And the
right,
regulations that give students 30 years to repay, well, I'm sorry, not every one of those students is a business student who
right, right,
understands
right,
amortization schedules and the cost and the break-even point for taking
right.
those loans. So I think our education system, aside of being primarily liberal and Marxist, um, I've even thought about floating the idea of removing tenure from federally funding schools, but that's just a brainstorm issue. Well,
There you go. Well, we'll have to talk about how to get this done, because it's when I get there, we're going to need to fix a lot of things, and the education funding, it's a mess. Obama like totally federalized everything that we had previously that was not. But it was many Congresses that did this, so we need to fix it.
Well, Jim, I know that you have a lot of election stuff going. You're a busy guy. I'm sure you're going to wear out a couple of pairs of shoes on this campaign, which is
Absolutely.
always common. Do you have any upcoming events that you'd like to share with the audience, or do you want to, I guess, share with us your schedule of events or speaking engagements?
Yeah, so I'm just getting started. Just filed with FEC last week and getting out there. But I make my rounds to all of the kind of the Republican Party events that are going on. In fact, my own county or my own party, we're hosting an event this weekend in Oswego at our Oswego Prairie Fest. So I'll be at the booth pretty much all weekend long. We have a parade on Sunday, so I'd love to see you in Oswego at the parade. Coming up I believe it's this Tuesday in LaSalle County, there's an event called Yana at Jamie's Outpost in LaSalle County. So I'll probably be out there on Tuesday and other places. So I kind of keep up, and we post out where we're going. My website is my last name, Marter, the number 4 Congress.com and .us. And we also Marter for Congress on social media for Twitter and Facebook and some others now. So that's kind of where you can get a hold of me. Donation links are on there. As a grassroots candidate, I need all the help I can get. We got a great team in place. I've got support through all 7 counties. We need to grow it, and we're looking for new people to kind of help join the movement. And let's get this done. Let's take Lauren Underwood out this time. She's been in there 3 terms too long, and it's time to end it. So,
Well, the people of the 14th district, I want to call to action on not only putting your money where your mouth is, but put your mouth where your money is, and talk about the campaign. Talk about Jim Marter's ability to flip this seat back, to save America, to step up and donate what you can, and also volunteer your time. That's how we're going to take back this country. That's how we're going to
amen.
save America.
That's exactly what we need. We got to do it for my candidate, my race, and for all the races where there's good, America First conservatives out there.
And they don't have to hide, and they don't have to remain silent any
Right.
longer. So, Jim, thank you for coming on the show. I hope to have you on again in the near future and discuss your endorsements, discuss how your campaign's going, and to get a feel for your trajectory, because I think you've got some wind in your sails. So,
All
thank you
right.
for coming.
I appreciate the opportunity, Jared. It's great to be with you.
Always a pleasure.
All right. Thank you.